Welcome to This Explainer. We're jumping right in today because we're looking at something absolutely wild, how brand new archaeological discoveries are literally shattering all those textbook assumptions we grew up with about ancient humanity. Let's get into it.
So think about this for a second. What if the standard timeline of human history, the one we all memorize for a test in high school, is actually missing its biggest, most crucial chapters? What if our past is way older, way more complex, and honestly, kind of stranger than we ever gave it credit for?
Here's the thing. History isn't necessarily wrong. It's just incredibly incomplete. And as we're going to see today, every single time researchers point a laser through a jungle canopy, or even just when a bulldozer hits a weird-looking rock in the dirt, the unexplained gaps in our human story just get a little bit wider. We are constantly digging up things that, frankly, aren't supposed to exist.
Section 1. Engineering the impossible. Define the elements.
For the longest time, we've had this assumption that complex societies just couldn't survive in extreme environments. I mean, for over 5 centuries, European explorers and historians wrote off the Amazon rainforest as this empty, totally hostile wilderness. They said it was just too dense, the soil was too poor to support civilization, but then came the LiDAR scans in 2022 and 2024. These lasers peered straight through that dense canopy and revealed something mind-blowing. We're talking massive engineered cities, pyramidal mounds, populations in the tens of thousands, all connected by these wide, perfectly straight, elevated causeways. It's like a giant puzzle we didn't even know existed.
And it's not just the jungle. Let's talk about the Sahara Desert. The Garamantes built a massive, state-level society right in the middle of one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. Picture this. Summer temperatures hitting 50 degrees Celsius. Basically zero annual rainfall. Sounds impossible, right? Yet they thrived there for 1,000 years. How? Well, they engineered 600 kilometers of underground tunnels to gravity feed water from a 10,000-year-old fossil aquifer straight to their farms and cities. Absolutely incredible.
The big takeaway here is that these folks weren't just scraping by. They actively managed their environments for thousands of years. The jungle wasn't too dense for civilization. The civilization actually was the jungle. And they only vanished when their finite resources, like that fossil aquifer in the Sahara, finally ran dry, or when European diseases swept down trade routes and wiped out those Amazonian populations long before colonists even showed up to see the cities.
Now, get a load of this number, 750,000. That is the estimated tonnage of massive basalt columns used to build Nan Madol in Micronesia. Using just canoes and pre-industrial tech, these people somehow transported multi-ton stones, literally some of these are longer than a school bus, across the open ocean just to build 92 artificial islands on a coral reef. It's an engineering feat so baffling that local legends just throw up their hands and say, well, the stones must have flown through the air by magic.
Section 2. Vanished without a trace, the eerie silence of the historical record.
So what happens when a highly sophisticated civilization just vanishes? They leave behind some seriously eerie anomalies. Take the Indus Valley city of Mohenjo-Daro. We're talking roughly 40,000 residents and advanced indoor plumbing centuries ahead of Europe. But here's the kicker. After 100 years of digging, archaeologists have found zero evidence of who was actually in charge. No palace, no central temple, no signs of an army, no weapons cache, and absolutely no monumental statues of a king or ruler.
But despite having no apparent king or army to enforce the rules, they maintained a perfect 1-to-2 ratio. That is the exact, standardized brick size used across thousands of kilometers for 700 straight years. Think about that for a second. It's a system of peaceful, engineered governance that is so wildly different from the rest of the ancient world that we literally cannot figure out how it functioned.
Okay, if you thought that was weird, try this. 3,000. That number represents the 3,000 years of continuous, highly detailed historical records kept by ancient Chinese societies. They documented everything, you guys. Kingdoms, wars, alliances, tributes, the whole shebang. But their historical record has a massive gaping hole in it. Which brings us to Sansingtui.
Not a single ancient Chinese text ever mentions Sansingtui. Not one. Yet this civilization was casting these completely alien-looking bronze masks with eyes protruding out on cylindrical stalks. I mean, they're kind of hard to miss, right? They crafted these massive 4-meter-tall bronze trees, and they easily rivaled anyone on Earth with their independent bronze metallurgy. And then, for reasons we still cannot fathom, they deliberately smashed, ritually burned, and buried their own masterpieces in sacrificial pits with over 100 elephant tusks. And history just completely forgot about them, until some brick factory workers accidentally hit them with a shovel in 1986.
Section 3. Frozen in Time. Escaping the End. Sometimes the only way we get to learn about these hidden worlds is when they're violently, suddenly frozen in time. We all know Pompeii, right? It's famous for preserving an elite Roman city, but obviously with the tragic loss of thousands of lives. But then you look at the Minoan settlement of Akrotiri, or the Maya village of Gioia de Saron. Both of these were also completely buried under immense layers of volcanic ash. But there's one huge difference. 0 human bodies were found at either site. Somehow, every single person managed to escape in time.
Now, because the people at Gioia de Saron fled with only about an hour's warning, they had to leave everything behind. And that gives us this incredibly rare, literally frozen-in-time glimpse into ordinary, non-elite Maya farming life at the exact moment their world ended in 600 CE. We aren't looking at a royal palace here. We're looking at painted bowls still holding food, fingerprints still fresh in the clay, and sleeping mats still laid out on the floor. It's haunting, but it's amazing.
And this single, frozen snapshot actually forced us to rewrite the textbooks. For the longest time, historians claimed that Spanish colonists introduced ridge and furrow agriculture to the Americas. But the sudden volcanic ash at Gioia de Saron fossilized their growing corn right there in the dirt. This proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that everyday Maya farmers were actively using this advanced agricultural technique in 600 CE. That's a full 1,000 years before the Spanish even arrived.
Section 4. Rewriting Human Origins, the Ultimate Paradigm Shift. Okay, to find the discovery that actually rewrote the most basic, fundamental rule of history, we have to travel over to a hilltop in Turkey. Now, for 2 centuries, pretty much every university taught this standard, highly logical model of human development. Humans were simple hunter-gatherers until they invented farming. Farming then created surplus food, which led to permanent settlements, and finally, that newfound stability allowed for the complex, organized labor needed to build religion and monumental temples. Makes sense, right?
Well, Göbekli Tepe completely inverted that entire sequence. Dating back a staggering 12,000 years, this site shows that hunter-gatherers built a massive cathedral first. Complex religion happened before permanent settlement, and way before farming. It points to a profound new truth. It was the human desire to create a sacred space that actually sparked civilization and farming, not the other way around. Talk about a real game changer.
And what's truly staggering is just how impossible Göbekli Tepe should be according to all those old rules. These were hunter-gatherers who supposedly lacked the social complexity for organized labor. Yet, 12,000 years ago, which is long before pottery or metal or writing even existed, they quarried, carved, and erected 15-ton T-shaped limestone pillars. And they decorated them with these intricate animal reliefs of lions, foxes, and scorpions. Pulling that off requires feeding a coordinated workforce of over 500 people with absolutely 0 agricultural tools to help them do it. No way, right?
But wait, here's perhaps the greatest mystery of all, the deliberate erasure. After building the oldest monumental architecture on Earth, these ancient people spent enormous, staggering effort to bury the entire site under tons of rubble, on purpose. They deliberately hid their masterpiece, keeping their secret for 100 centuries, right up until a shepherd happened to notice a strange carved stone sticking out of the dirt in 1994.
Section 5. What still lies hidden? The final mystery. So everything we've looked at today forces us into a really humbling realization. Our historical record is incredibly fragile, and it is deeply, deeply incomplete. It is constantly waiting to be overturned by, say, a LiDAR scan penetrating a jungle, or a bulldozer clearing a field for a new silo, or simply a farmer's plow hitting something hard in the dirt. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. If a 12,000-year-old monumental temple can hide in plain sight right under a Turkish hill, and if sprawling engineered cities can sit completely hidden beneath the Amazon canopy for centuries, what undiscovered civilization is hiding beneath your feet right now, just waiting to be found?